Divine Revelation, 12 Miraculous Truths on Yahweh's Worship. Long before Israel's manifestation, in the heart of Redvale, a quaint village nestled amongst green hills, lived Mary, a woman of unwavering faith. Known for her unyielding devotion to God, she felt a stirring deep within her as she knelt in the charming chapel one stormy evening. The wind howled like a restless spirit outside, and the rain lashed against the stained glass windows, yet the candlelight flickered softly within, casting an ethereal glow. Each light seemed to pulse with divine energy, wrapping its warmth around Mary as she prayed fervently, her heart aching for guidance amidst community doubt. "Yahweh, reveal your truth to me," she cried, tears streaming as she surrendered her struggles. Suddenly, a surge of light erupted in the chapel, illuminating the dark corners where shadows clung desperately. Wisps of heavenly whispers spiraled around her, and in her heart, she felt a pull, a voice urging her to unlock the mysteries of worship that existed long before the Israelites had come into being. As her breath deepened, Mary's heart raced. 12 profound truths unfurled before her inner eye like petals of a blooming flower, radiant and resplendent. She saw ancient ancestors worship in meadows, their joy a tapestry woven with love for the Creator. She beheld sacrifices made under starlit skies, and a warmth filled her being as each vision flooded her with understanding. These were not mere ideas but divine revelations, the essence of worship that transcended time itself. News swept through Redvale like wildfire. Mary had received a heavenly message. Some villagers whispered, coming together, eager hearts aflame. Could these truths guide them deeper into joyful worship? They gathered in the chapel, anticipation crackling in the air as if the very stones were vibrating with potential. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Heartbeats quickened as each villager contemplated the 12 truths. Yet, every divine revelation met with a challenge. Their earthly doubts gnawed at the edges of their newfound hope. Mary felt the burden of her family weighing heavier, her son afflicted with illness and her husband withdrawn, as life's trials unfurled like a dark cloud over her spirit. As confusion brewed among the villagers, some turned to fervent rituals, misinterpreting Mary's visions as a means to appease the heavens, leading to anger, sadness, and a splintering of faith. These misguided attempts to practice the truths only added to Mary's agony. The storm outside mirrored the storm within her, the chaos tangled with emotions, and yet, deep down, Mary's resolve flickered like the candles that illuminated the chapel. She returned, weary and desperate, pleading for clarity as shadows swirled through her mind. In this moment of tumult, a brilliant flash lit the chapel, leaving her breathless as the flickering fire danced like the heartbeat of the divine. With the storm raging and candlelight casting long shadows, Mary stood at the precipice of revelation. A divine presence wrapped around her, hinting at wonders yet to come. Would this moment yield healing and unity for her community, or would it further plunge them into despair? As the flickering candlelight beckoned with deep reverence, Mary felt the weight of hope surging once more. What awaited them all in this unfolding mystery? As the flickering candlelight danced around the chapel, a hush enveloped the gathering. The villagers felt the weight of uncertainty in the air, yet the flicker of divine possibility kept their hearts open. Mary, sensing the collective yearning, took a deep breath, grounding herself in prayer. "Lord," she whispered, "speak through me. Let your truth flow to these weary souls." In that instant, she felt an overwhelming surge of warmth filling her spirit. The light seemed to pulse with life, transforming her trembling hands into vessels of peace. Each villager sat, entranced, their eyes wide with expectation. They too longed for that divine touch, that simple, profound connection with Yahweh. Mary's voice rose like a melody, resonating through the chapel. The first truth is this: worship comes from the heart, not from mere rituals. It springs forth in our love and surrender to God. Look within, for he knows you intimately." Tears brimmed in many eyes as they absorbed her words. Some nodded in quiet agreement, recognizing the depths in their own hearts. The divisive murmurings began to soften, replaced by one voice stirring in unity, echoing the ancient teachings revealed to Mary. "The second truth," she continued, "is that worship can be found in nature. Our ancestors rejoiced amidst meadows and mountains, singing praises under the stars. Let us reconnect with creation." A breeze blew through the open windows, rustling the hair of those present like a gentle embrace from the Creator. In that moment, several villagers recalled their childhood spent in the fields, gathering around campfires, laughter rising into the night sky. They remembered that feeling of joyfully connecting with God through the beauty around them. Hope rekindled. "Embrace the third truth," Mary urged, her spirit soaring. "True worship often involves sacrifice. Not merely of possessions, but of our will, our pride, our time. This offering is our love poured out to God." A collective sigh filled the room as Mary spoke of love and sacrifice, unearthing deeper meanings of their existence. The villagers' hearts began to awaken, sensing the call to surrender their burdens for something much greater. Yet, amid the beauty of revelation, shadows echoed, dredging up old fears. A voice rang out, quaking with doubt, "But what if we fail? What if this worship leads us deeper into darkness?" Mary turned, her heart aching for the troubled soul. "Beloved," she spoke softly, "even in darkness, He is near. He strengthens our faith when we walk through valleys. Trust that every step in worship leads us closer to His light." The room held its breath as hope began to entwine with courage. Inspired by Mary's words, the villagers started to lean into each other's strengths, creating a tapestry of support, hearts beating as one. A trembling hand reached for Mary, and she turned. It was Jacob, her husband, his eyes filled with unshed tears. "I've been lost," he admitted, "but you've shown me there is a way back." His voice trailed off, yet the sincerity hung in the air, knitting them together in love. "Do not underestimate the power of collective worship," Mary continued, emboldened by their connection. "As we turn our hearts toward Yahweh as one, we shall experience His miraculous presence." As she spoke, the storm outside began to abate, the winds softening their relentless howl, creating a calm that mirrored the newfound peace inside. With each revelation, Mary felt the weight of her community lifting, replaced with a bubbling excitement for the journey ahead. But as they began to embrace the unfolding truths, Mary sensed that they were on the brink of an even greater discovery. The flickering candles suddenly flared, bathing the chapel in brilliant light. A whisper hung in the air, as if the very Spirit of God was about to break forth in greater revelation. What new truth awaited the villagers in this sacred moment? Would they find the unity and healing they so desperately sought, or would they be confronted by challenges even greater than before? Mary felt the tremors of anticipation and uncertainty. Rippled through the air, the next chapter loomed with promise. What would God unveil next? As the brilliant light enveloped the chapel, Mary felt her heart race. It was as if the presence of the Almighty had drawn closer, urging her to reveal what lay hidden. The air shimmered with anticipation, and the villagers exchanged glances, their breaths held in a quiet reverence, sensing that something monumental was about to unfold. "Prepare your hearts," Mary spoke, her voice steady yet soft. "God is about to unveil a new truth, one that transcends our understanding. Open your minds, open your souls." The candles burned brighter, almost as if they were fueled by a divine wind. The warm glow brightened each face, revealing both fear and faith intertwined. Mary closed her eyes, inhaling deeply, inviting God's wisdom to flow through her. "Listen closely," she began, "for the first revelation is upon us: worship the Lord in joy. Our God is not merely a God of law and order, He is a God of joy and celebration. When we lift our voices in vibrant worship, we honor Him with every beat of our hearts." A murmur of astonishment rippled through the congregation. Joyful memories surged within them, dancing under wide-open skies, singing in the fields, children chasing fireflies with laughter, all resonating with a deep sense of freedom and lightness. "Embrace your joy," Mary encouraged, her spirit soaring at the thought. In joy, we find communion. A joy-filled heart is a heart fully aware of His grace. Suddenly, a stirring erupted among them, voices whispering encouragements, smiles breaking through reservations. They began to share moments when joy had transformed their struggles into praise, igniting the chapel with warmth and life. The second truth is a call to humility, Mary continued, her countenance shifting as the weight of this revelation sank in. We must approach worship with humble hearts. Like John the Baptist, who declared, "He must increase, but I must decrease." How can our worship ascend in purity if we are caught up in our own desires? As she spoke, a stillness enveloped the room, the truth settling over them heavy yet beautiful. They began to reflect, considering their own pride. Surrendering that pride felt like removing a heavy cloak, revealing a lighter being beneath. Let our worship be a place of surrender, she urged. In humility, He uplifts us. Let us decrease so that His glory may fill our hearts. The villagers nodded, collectively feeling the pull towards something greater than themselves. They shared stories of their struggles, their need for surrender, their yearning to engage deeply with Yahweh. Then came the third truth, resonating deeply in their spirits: worship is not confined to these walls. It spills into our daily lives. It is in acts of kindness, in loving our neighbors, in feeding the hungry. Our every action can become a fragrant offering to Him. Eyes widened with revelation. They began to see worship beyond songs and prayers. It was in simple gestures, the touch of a hand, the warmth of a smile, as much as it was in formal rituals. Mary watched in awe as their spirits transformed. They were becoming a tapestry of faith, woven together by shared understanding. The power of revelation danced around them, as if each soul sparkled in the light of this divine calling. But as the worship grew fragrant and alive, another question arose in Mary's heart: what if our worship led us into uncharted territories? What if we were called to leap beyond our comfort zones? With a sigh, she sensed the collective hesitance. Would they be brave enough to venture into the unknown, willing to embrace the challenges that might come with this deeper worship? As the light dimmed, a soft wind brushed through the chapel, carrying the bittersweet fragrance of challenges intertwined with blessings. What lies beyond this divine unfolding? Would the villagers embrace the call to joy, humility, and expressions of love, or would fear hold them captive? Mary no longer felt alone. The spirit of unity stirred among them, and her heart thrummed with fervent expectancy. What was God preparing them to become? Each villager felt the anticipation rise within them, ready to discover where this sacred path might lead. As the whispers of hope danced lightly in the air, a calm descended upon the chapel. The villagers, still aglow with the newfound revelations, exchanged glances filled with wonder. They could feel a shift, a ripple, stirring their spirits. Mary sensed this too. The collective heartbeat of her community was quickening, vibrating with a divine frequency. Now, she said, her voice soft yet firm, we must delve deeper into these truths. We cannot stop here, for there is more awaiting us. The next revelation beckons. The flickering candles responded, casting a larger net of light, illuminating the sacred space like stars in a velvet sky. The villagers leaned in, curiosity sparking in their eyes. It felt as if the air crackled with energy as Mary continued. The fourth truth is this: worship is a journey, not a destination. Each step, each prayer, each act of kindness is a part of our sacred pilgrimage. Quiet reflections echoed in the chamber. Mary recounted the path of faith, likening it to a winding river, sometimes serene, at times tumultuous, but always moving toward a greater purpose. Just as a river carves its way through mountains, our worship shapes us. Let the journey refine us, teaching us patience, resilience, and gratitude. Nods of understanding filled the room. They were recognizing their own journeys, the bends and turns that had brought them here. Then, with a gentle intensity, Mary proclaimed the fifth truth: worship invites transformation. When we stand before Him in sincerity, we cannot remain untouched. He molds our hearts, reshapes our desires, and ignites our spirits. A deep sigh swept through the congregation. They began to reflect on the paths they'd traveled. Conversation sparkled with testimony as one villager shared how a dire moment of hopelessness had led to an encounter with the divine presence. Another spoke of healing that came unexpectedly through acts of service. Each story wove into a rich tapestry of transformation, solidifying a sense of unity among them. Mary felt the atmosphere thicken with the weight of these truths. "This brings us to our sixth revelation," she said, her gaze sweeping over each face. "Worship grounds us in community. It is our shared experience of grace that binds us together. We are not intended to journey alone. Just like the early church, we thrive when we bear one another's burdens, lifting each other in prayer and action." In that moment, a surge of togetherness enveloped the room. Villagers rose to share not only stories but plans to support each other in their struggles, to love stronger in their communities. Smiles broke as laughter mingled with tears of gratitude. They understood that the beauty of worship lay not just in the intimate connection with God but also in the shared bond among His children. As they sat in the rich reverberation of these revelations, Mary sensed something was brewing, something profound yet delicate. We've opened the door to worship's complexity. But there's more. What if this leads us towards radical compassion? What if it challenges us to reach beyond our walls, out into the world? A tremor of uncertainty passed through the group. Could they truly step outside their familiar lives? What would this call to action demand from them? Suddenly, a shiver rushed through the chapel as the air thickened, a divine call echoed softly, yet unmistakably, wrapping around their hearts. The Spirit was alive, urging them onward, deeper. Will we answer? Mary's question hung in the air. Their hearts thrummed together in unison, suspended in anticipation, wondering who they might become in this unfolding tale of grace and courage. A sacred silence fell over them, inviting contemplation. What adventure awaited them outside the comforting confines of this chapel? The answer seemed just within reach, yet shrouded in mystery. It beckoned, offering both hope and challenge. What awaited on this radical path of worship? Would they find the courage to embrace it, or would the whisper of fear hold them back? As the sacred silence lingered, the villagers felt a collective heaviness, not of burden but of an awakening. Mary stood at the forefront, noticing the flicker of determination growing in their eyes. She felt as though she was holding a fragile promise, ready to be brought to life with each courageous step. "Let us not shy away from the world beyond," she urged, her voice gentle but resolute. The call to radical compassion is a charge we must not ignore. God has prepared each of us to be vessels of His love, ready to spill out into the lives of others. With each word, an energy rippled through the chapel, weaving through the villagers, igniting their minds and hearts in ways they had never imagined. What would it look like to embody that call? The thought sent a thrill of anticipation coursing through them. Each act of kindness, Mary continued, is a thread that weaves us into the fabric of divine purpose. She paused, letting her gaze settle on a young mother at the back of the chapel, cradling her child in her arms. Think of the simple meals we can share, the stories of hope we can tell. Each interaction ripples out. Who among us needs a light in their darkness? A murmur of agreement floated through the room. A sense of clarity began to unfold as their imagination sparked. One villager, an elderly gentleman named Thomas, stood and spoke with warm conviction. "I have seen despair in the eyes of my neighbors. But this revelation. It fills me with hope. A simple visit, a helping hand, it takes so little to brighten someone's day." "Yes." Another called from near the front, enthusiasm rising. "What about our youth? They crave connection. We can reach them with love and show them worship is alive." Mary smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "You see, this isn't merely an idea, it's a call to action. It asks us to step out in faith, to allow our worship to spill into the lives surrounding us. Our journey of faith reaches its fullest beauty when we extend it to others." As the villagers shared ideas, a mosaic of plans began to form. They spoke of a community festival, of shared meals, of community gardens where all could contribute and gather. Conversations danced with excitement, each word a seed of compassion taking root, but amidst the enthusiasm, Mary sensed an undercurrent of uncertainty. They were on the brink of something monumental, yet there were fears lurking in the shadows. "What if we fail?" whispered a timid voice from the back. "What if they don't accept us?" Mary turned, her gaze warmly meeting the individual's frightened eyes. "What if we do? What if our little acts of love light up the dark corners of someone's heart?" Remember, worship is not about perfection, it's about our sincerity, our willingness to give. The warmth in the room shifted. A quiet strength settled, as their hearts aligned in purpose. One by one, they expressed their commitment and passion, emboldened by the Spirit stirring within them. "Let us take the first step," Mary encouraged, "not just in thought but in deed. Who are we called to reach? Who needs our hearts?" As they moved towards the door, Mary felt a surge of divine excitement wash over her. The world outside awaited, full of challenges and miracles. She remembered the scripture that spoke of faith as small as a mustard seed, capable of growing into something beautiful. Suddenly, a rustle broke through the chapel's reverie. Organic and raw, a gentle wind swept through the space. The villagers paused, feeling the divine presence surround them. It was as if heaven itself were whispering encouragement. With that sacred breath, Mary spoke into the warm energy. "Are we ready to step outside these walls, to share our worship in a world yearning for light?" And as they nodded, a quiet resolve built among them. But questions still lingered in the air. What adventures awaited them? What transformations would they witness as they stepped out in faith? The path ahead was shrouded in divine mystery, beckoning them to follow a light that illuminated the unknown. In that moment, they understood that this journey was just beginning. Out there, beyond the embrace of their chapel, lay the rich unfolding story of worship and compassion waiting for them to write. As the villagers stepped outside, the gentle breeze swirled around them, carrying the scent of blooming flowers and the promise of new beginnings. The sun hung low in the sky, casting warm golden light over the landscape, and Mary felt a stirring within her. This was not merely their village, it was a canvas for the divine to paint love and connection. "Let us walk together to the market square," she proposed, her spirit soaring with excitement. "There is so much we can do right here, right now." The village square buzzed with life. Sounds of laughter and chatter filled the air, and the villagers felt their apprehension begin to melt away. Mary led the way, each step resonating with hope. As they approached, she spotted a group of children playing, their laughter bright and carefree. "Let us join them," she suggested, the sparkle of joy lighting her eyes. The villagers hesitated but felt Mary's infectious energy pull them closer. They gathered around, watching the children as they played. Suddenly, Mary crouched down, a gentle smile spreading across her face. "Look at how freely they love and share," she said softly. "What if we learn from them?" Encouraged, a few villagers joined her. They began to engage, playing simple games, laughing, and clapping their hands. Mary's heart swelled as she watched their walls of hesitation start to crumble. In those moments, they shared not just laughter but something more profound, a sense of connection, a glimpse of the kingdom of God alive among them. Then, an elderly woman approached, leaning on a cane. Her face wore lines of struggle, yet her eyes sparkled with a flicker of hope. "You've brought a light with you, dear ones," she said, her voice shaking yet filled with warmth. "I've walked alone for so long. It warms my heart to see such joy. Come, join us." Mary beckoned, extending her hand. In an instant, the villagers surrounded her, welcoming the woman into their circle. Lifting her cane just a bit, she smiled, joining their game, if only for a moment. The villagers began to sing a simple hymn, their voices weaving in and out like a tapestry of devotion. Mary's heart soared as she realized that this hymn was not just a melody, but a call to gather, to embrace, and to share their worship with the world. The air seemed to shimmer with divine light as their voices rose, filling the square like a sweet fragrance. Amidst their joyful singing, a young man stepped forward, a deep furrow on his brow. "I've felt empty for too long," he confessed. "Can this joy be mine?" Mary stepped closer, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Of course it can. Each of us carries a piece of that joy within. Let it out. Share your light, it shines brighter when given away. The young man's eyes widened, absorbing her words. There it was, the spark of awakening. Hope was growing in the hearts of the villagers like seeds in the sun. Finishing their song, the energy shifted. They gathered to share stories of their struggles, their longings, and their joys. Each revelation felt sacred, each voice a thread in a magnificent tapestry being woven together. The villagers listened intently, laughter mingling with tears, hearts united in the shared fabric of faith and compassion. Suddenly, Mary caught sight of the sun dipping below the horizon, casting an ethereal glow over them. The square felt alive, pulsating with divine presence. Remember, we are just beginning, she reminded them, her voice steady and passionate. What will we do next? How will we let this love overflow into the world? This is not just an act, it's a movement of our spirits. And as the darkness began to gently cloak the village, a moment of stillness settled. In that quietness, respect and reverence hung in the air, but a question lingered, pressing in on their thoughts. What would it take to truly unleash their hearts and transform their village? What miracles awaited them as they stepped even further into the unknown? With hearts racing, they felt the thrill of their divinely appointed journey calling them onward. As the stars began to twinkle overhead, a hush fell over the village. The warmth of the day lingered, wrapping around the villagers like a cozy blanket. They stood together, hearts alight with a renewed sense of purpose. Mary felt an electric energy pulsating in the air. It was the whisper of something greater, something divine stirring within them. What if we could truly embody this love that we felt here tonight? She asked, her voice filled with excitement. What if we could extend this joy beyond our village? A soft murmur rippled through the crowd. Some nodded, exchanging glances filled with uncertainty. Others, emboldened by Mary's spirit, began outlining ideas about sharing their newfound joy with neighboring towns. The air was thick with hope, the kind that burgeoned with potential and possibility. One villager, a gentle soul named Thomas, stepped forward. I've seen how our neighbor, the baker, struggles. His shop has faced many challenges lately. Perhaps we could band together to help him. His suggestion felt resonant, echoing in the warmth of their gathering. I remember his kindness when we were in need, chimed in another villager, a young woman named Eliza. He would always share bread with those who had none. It would be wonderful to give back. As they voiced their intentions, Mary gathered her courage, feeling the divine energy pooling within her. Yes. Together, we can be that light. Let us bake bread, gather supplies, and wrap our love around our neighbor. We can create a spirit of generosity that reaches past our own hearts. A ripple of agreement surged through the crowd. Voices rose, aspirations woven together like the strands of a beautiful tapestry. Ideas sprouted like blossoms in the spring, vibrant and hopeful. Let us gather at dawn, Mary suggested, her spirit alight with the possibilities. With the first light of day, we will set our plans into motion. As they prepared to disperse, a deep sense of community enveloped them, a sweetness that was nearly palpable. Each villager returned home with a promise in their hearts, ready to fulfill this divine calling. In the hours that followed, the moon hung bright in the sky, casting silvery threads over the village. Mary found herself unable to sleep, thoughts raced through her mind. She walked outside, feeling the cool grass beneath her feet. Lord, what is your plan for us? She murmured into the stillness. What if we dare to dream beyond our village? Then came a flicker of awe, a sudden illumination flooding her. What if their small act of kindness sparked a flame that spread far beyond their borders? She closed her eyes, envisioning children from other towns, laughter echoing as they played together. Families united through shared meals of love. As she turned to head back inside, a deep resolve washed over her. There was more to this mission, a transformation that was not just for them but for the entire land surrounding them. That night, the villagers' prayers drifted up like fragrant incense, mingling with the moonlight and swirling into the heavens. Hearts aligned in a collective yearning for divine connection, for something more to unfurl as they stepped into their purpose, but just as her heart settled, a new thought arose: would they be ready for the challenges that lay ahead? What if their small acts of love sparked tensions they could not foresee? As dawn began to break, casting the first light over the horizon, Mary looked out at her village anew. The journey was just beginning, and she could feel the Holy Spirit stirring among them. The air shimmered with anticipation, and she understood that this was only the start of a divine awakening. What sacred obstacles might arise as they extend their hearts outward? What unforeseen blessings would they discover as they took those first steps together? As the first rays of sunlight crested over the hills, the village stirred with life. Mary stepped outside, her heart pounding in her chest. The air was fragrant with the promise of a new day, and she felt the warmth of hope radiating through her. She gathered her thoughts and prepared to meet her fellow villagers, each of whom would soon awaken with the same dreams of generosity that had ignited their spirits the night before. One by one, they arrived at the designated spot, the old square in the heart of the village. Laughter and chatter filled the air as they turned their dreams into plans. Mary watched their eagerness, a wave of gratitude washing over her. They were not just neighbors, they were a family bound by faith and purpose. She raised her hands to catch their attention. "Good morning, friends," she called out, her voice carrying a vision of unity. "Today we step into something beautiful." The crowd quieted, eyes sparkling with expectation. Thomas, Eliza, and many others stood ready to lend their hands and hearts. "As we begin our work," Mary continued, "let us remember the love we felt last night. Each loaf of bread we bake will carry our gratitude. Each kindness we extend will wrap around those we help like a comforting embrace." With purpose, they formed small groups, each tasked with a specific part of their mission. Mary found herself beside Eliza, their laughter filling the morning as they gathered ingredients for the bread: flour, water, and a pinch of salt. Every grain seemed infused with their devotion, every need a prayer, yet, even as joy filled their hearts, a shadow flitted through Mary's mind. Would the baker accept their help? Would resentment brew among those who might feel overlooked? She fought the worries, knowing faith must guide their intention. As they baked in the warmth of the sun, an unexpected visitor approached. It was Miriam, the baker's wife, her face a mixture of surprise and weariness. "What are you all doing?" she asked, curiosity lighting her eyes. Mary took a deep breath, stepping forward. "Miriam, we're here to bring love and support to your family. We heard of the challenges your husband faces. We want to help bake bread for our village, to share with you, so that your burden feels lighter." The breath in Miriam's throat caught. "But why? We've been struggling," and tears filled her eyes. "I didn't know there was still kindness left in the world." "Love is a river that flows through hearts," Eliza replied softly. "Sometimes, it just takes a spark to remind us that we are never truly alone." Mary felt a warmth spread through her soul, a divine connection weaving itself into the fabric of their community. As they invited Miriam to join them, her hesitation melted like morning frost under the sun. She nodded, her spirit lifting as she rolled up her sleeves. Day turned to afternoon, and laughter echoed through the village as the fragrance of freshly baked bread wafted through the streets. Villagers gathered, eyes glimmering with excitement. Families brought forth baskets and shared their talents, while others filled the air with joyous hymns, but simmering beneath this joy were unrecognizable undercurrents. Whispers floated among some, cautioning against overstepping boundaries or stirring uncomfortable feelings within the larger town. Mary sensed this too, but chose the path of faith. As they prepared to deliver the warm bread, she gathered everyone again. "Let love lead our hearts boldly," she declared. "For we may not fully know the consequences of our actions, but trust brings hope. And in that hope, we shall find strength for the journey ahead." With renewed energy, they set off toward the baker's shop. Each step brought them closer to unveiling not just loaves of bread but layers of understanding and unity. As they approached the door, Mary felt a shift in the air. Attention she hadn't seen before began to crowd around them. What awaited them inside? Would this act of love transform hearts, or ignite an unforeseen challenge? The moment held its breath. Mary's heart raced as she stood outside the baker's shop, the warm scent of bread mingling with the cool breeze. The villagers gathered close, holding their baskets tightly, eyes reflecting uncertainty while excitement flickered like candlelight. She could feel her own anticipation rising, knowing that love had been the foundation of their mission. Taking a step forward, she gently pushed the door open. The familiar chime sounded like a soft bell of hope, echoing in the stillness. Inside, the shop was dim but shimmered with the golden light of freshly baked loaves resting on shelves. Miriam followed closely behind, her breath now even with expectation. They stepped into the sanctity of the baker's domain. The bakers, Thomas and Eliza, stood sentinel by the counter, hands dusted with flour. It was a sanctuary of warmth and community. But to Mary's eye, the tension on the bakers' faces mirrored her own unease. Would they welcome their offering of love, or would their good intentions be met with suspicion? "Hello, everyone. We've come to bring some bread," Mary announced, but her voice wavered slightly. She smiled, attempting to mask her apprehension, her heart whispering for courage. Miriam took a deep breath, stepping forward. "Jacob, we felt your struggle and we want to share in this burden. We know it's hard. Together, we can lighten the load." Jacob, the baker, looked at them, eyes narrowing. "Why? I've never needed help before. This is my work." A flicker of pride and hurt danced across his features. Mary's spirit stirred. No one has to carry their burdens alone. Just as bread rises with yeast, so too can our joy rise when we share our lives. We just want to be there for you and support the community. But another voice pierced the tension. A woman from the back of the shop spoke up with skepticism. "Aren't you overstepping?" "It's kind," but she paused, a tightening in her brow. "What if people see this as pity?" Mary's heart sank at the concern, a collective fear wrapping around them. She longed to bridge that gap. "We are here to serve. Pity does not enter our hearts when love flows. It's simply a reflection of Jesus' commands to love one another." Her hope shone, bright as morning light. The atmosphere shifted subtly. Jacob studied them, doubt softening in his expression. "But why now?" he asked, searching for deeper understanding. A divine moment hung there. It was not just about bread. It was about recognizing each other's struggles, about community woven together through compassion. Mary felt the presence of something greater in their midst. "Because God meets us in our struggles," Eliza chimed in, her voice steady. "In this unity, we encounter Him. And today, we are His hands, bringing forth grace and support." Mary nodded, shielding her heart with faith. "We can be vessels of hope, especially when we gather together as one. Today is our expression of that." A ripple of murmurs passed through the gathered group, smiles beginning to blossom, like flowers braving the chill of the morning. Jacob's shoulders relaxed, the flicker of understanding breaking through the shadows of doubt. He glanced around and met the eyes of his wife, then turned back to the eager villagers. "All right," he sighed with a softer tone, the weight lifting slightly. "Let us do this together." Cheers erupted, filling the space with warmth, laughter, and the spirit of fellowship. As they began to work side by side, the joy of collaboration enveloped them like a loving embrace. Yet, amid the jubilant atmosphere, Mary felt a tug at her heart, a gentle reminder that love still has the power to invoke resistance. What repercussions might linger in the shadows? Would others embrace this change or resist it? As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden halo around them, Mary looked to the horizon. The calm before the storm loomed. What truly awaited them beyond this moment of unity? Would they face trials that could bring them closer together, or would the very act of love spur unforeseen consequences across the village? The breaths they took carried whispered prayers. And with that, they moved forward, ready to sow seeds of love, or to bear the weight of conflict yet unknown. As dawn illuminated the village once more, a hush fell over the bustling market square. The air was thick with expectation, woven with the threads of hope and purpose ignited the day before. Villagers began to gather, their hearts aligned in the spirit of unity Mary had inspired. They were ready to share their love, to extend their newfound revelations into the lives of others. Mary stood at the center, her heart ablaze with divine energy. She felt the weight of their mission pressing upon her, yet within that weight was an exhilarating freedom. This was their moment, time to step into the calling God had placed upon them. "Good morning, beautiful souls," she called out, her voice ringing with joy. "Today, we let our worship resonate beyond these walls and into the hearts of our community." Cheers erupted, echoing off the marketplace's walls, and the first tremors of excitement rippled through the crowd. It was not mere enthusiasm, it was the essence of worship spilling forth, transforming their collective intention into action. "Today, we offer kindness. Today, we spread joy. Together, we will visit those among us who've struggled, and we will share our talents, our strength, and our love." As she spoke, her words wove a sacred tapestry, binding each villager together in purpose. The villagers nodded, feeling the rhythm of their hearts synchronizing, marching in unison towards the uncharted territory of love. Mary's eyes sparkled as she continued, "Let us move, not only as individuals but as a community, ready to embrace all who cross our path." With that, they gathered in small groups, each one carrying baskets filled with bread, vegetables, and handmade crafts crafted with love. Mary led a group towards the edge of the village, where an elderly man, known as Old Sam, had lived alone for years. As they approached his modest home, Mary felt a tingling in her spirit, the warmth of God's presence enveloping her. She whispered fervent prayers for Old Sam, asking that their visit would be a balm to his soul. A gentle knock was followed by a hesitant creak. The door swung open, and there stood Old Sam, weariness lined across his brow. His eyes widened, mirroring the surprise and delight brewing in his heart. "What brings you here, dear ones?" he asked, voice quivering with uncertainty. "Sam," Mary said, stepping forward, "we've come to share our love and offer our friendship. We've prepared a meal, and we want you to be part of our family today." A flash of hesitation flickered through his eyes, but soon the warmth of acceptance washed over his features. "I don't deserve this," he murmured, but Mary gently placed her hand on his arm. "None of us deserve it, Sam. It's grace, not merit, that binds us together. Let us show you the joy of community." Within seconds, Old Sam's home transformed. Laughter erupted, stories unfolded, and for the first time in years, a sense of belonging enveloped him. They gathered around the table, and Mary could feel the divine saturating every moment. As they ate, a profound tranquility settled in the air. Old Sam's laughter echoed rich and full, washing away the solitude that had cloaked his days. "Never in my life would I have expected love wrapped in bread." He beamed. After the meal, they danced, rejoicing in the simplest yet profound connection. Mary's heart soared as she witnessed the transformation. A heart once shrouded in isolation now ignited with warmth and laughter. However, as the sun began to dip low, shadows crept in, a reminder of lingering doubts. Mary turned to her group, noting whispers rising among some villagers. "But what if our kindness is perceived as intrusion?" one murmured anxiously. "What if we are not welcomed by others?" Mary held up a hand, her faith anchoring her. "Remember our revelations. God calls us to worship through our actions, and that includes confronting our fears. We are vessels of His love. Let our hearts be open." Together, they resolved to push forward. As they continued their mission, visiting a single mother battling grief, a child struggling in school, and a widow in need of companionship, Mary felt the fabric of their community intertwining. Their willingness to be vulnerable would spark healing. Moments turned into hours, hearts began to mend, and by twilight, the village pulsed with love. It was palpable. Villagers gathered outside, joyously recounting the day's miracles. As they shared, Mary stood back, realizing they had embraced worship in its purest form. Interwoven hearts, freely offered help, and the blessed realization that love triumphs over isolation. Yet deep inside her, a new question attuned her spirit. As they celebrated under the stars, what would it cost them to live in this fervor beyond today? Would their small acts of love sustain their newfound community spirit, or would they face challenges when giving became sacrificial? Today we became light. She urged as she gathered everyone. Tomorrow, let us shine brighter. We must not forget our mission. With those stirring words, she felt each soul resonating with resolve, transformed by the sacred act of presence and love. In that sacred moment, the village of Redvale knew they were not merely villagers, they were a family, born anew in faith and purpose. As they embraced the night sky's twinkling allure, a divine truth was forged within them. The journey into worship's fullness had only just begun. This was the moment to ignite a movement of grace and compassion that would ripple beyond their village's borders. Now, as a brother in faith, I urge you to carry this spirit with you. If you were touched by this tale, take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and testimonies about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. Show your support. This is the moment. Do not wait even one more second to share and spread love.